Changemakers, and welcome to The Core, sponsored by Red Apple EdCo. This is your Everything Education podcast. We talk about current events, books to read. We interview education leaders, hear their stories, learn from their biggest lessons, and they share what they wish you knew about what it means to be in education today. I'm your host, Dr. Kia Turner. Buckle up for small seeds of inspiration that can lead to big changes in your classroom practice. Let's take a bite out of today's guest. This week, we are talking about how to make your classrooms inclusive for every learner. And you know that I am doing interviews with people who know, because when you don't know, you definitely need to ask. And today, we are talking with Miss Chyna from the Especially SPED account. Y'all need to follow her on Instagram. She posts a whole bunch of useful tips, and she's been in the SPED classroom for 3 years working with grades kindergarten through 5th. So she has a broad range of experience, and she supports a lot of different classroom teachers as well as delivering instruction in her classroom herself. And so I know that our conversation is going to be one that you get a lot of benefit from. Let's get to it. Welcome to the show, Chyna.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm happy to be a part of this.
Thank you so much. Can you tell us how, in addition to deciding to become a teacher, you decided that you wanted to focus on students with special needs? Like, how did that happen?
Okay, this is actually kind of a funny story because originally I didn't see myself in this position.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a kindergarten to 5th grade. It depends on the year and the needs of our school. Behavioral special ed teacher. And so when I had done my student teaching and I student taught in 3rd grade, wasn't really thinking about special ed, really considering it. You know, I was always there to provide for kids in any way that I could. I ended up really liking 3rd grade and thinking, this is what I want to do. So the following year, I ended up not being able to come back and teach right away. So I was subbing, and I was subbing in 3rd grade and kindergarten and high school and middle school. And then I was also subbing in special ed. And one of the classrooms I subbed a lot in was a behavioral special ed classroom at the school I'm at now, actually.
Oh, okay.
And the teacher that I was subbing for was going to be retiring that year. And so the principal had stopped me and said, you know, would you ever considering taking on this position? You know, you just well with these kiddos. You know, you seem to like what you're doing. And I thought, maybe this is where I'm supposed to be. And I'm in a position that I can be quite honest with you, isn't at the top of everybody's list. I have a lot of different behaviors, a lot of kids that need different supports throughout the classroom, emotional supports, behavioral supports, just regulation support. And so overall, it's a tough position. And so my days look different every single day. My kids change every single day. I'll try one thing and it'll work really great for 2 weeks. And I try it the following week and it doesn't work anymore. So we're always changing, we're always learning. And I think just that high pace, changing, adapting with your kids, learning where they come from has really turned into a position that has not only like opened my heart, but helps me see an entirely different view of the world and of the kids that I get to work with.
I love that. I had a principal tell me that every single opportunity that came to them just sort of fell in their lap. Right? They were just like, look, I know that you're out here looking for it, Kia, but let me tell you, every single opportunity I've ever had just sort of fell into my lap. And that's what happens. And it sounds like you had one of those experiences too. You were like, hey, I'm just subbing. And then the principal was like, hey, you said that the position that you have is one that a lot of people see as difficult. I would agree completely. Mm-hmm. How have you managed to keep it from getting on top of you is what I call it. You know, like there are days when you're like, I'm on top of my class. I got it. And then there's other days where you're like, everything got on top of me today and I just made it out alive. How do you have that happen? How do you keep it from getting on top of you?
The thing is with working with, whether you have a special ed classroom that you're working with or you're working with kiddos that might need more support in the classroom, you have to look at small victories as something that's really amazing. So, I mean, today, for example, I had a student that was struggling a little bit, not making the choices that we needed to make right away. But after 5 minutes and 43 seconds to be specific,
okay,
make the right choice. While we still had to kind of bear through that, him decreasing that time from 7 minutes to 5 minutes is a really big victory for us.
Yes.
So, I mean, sometimes a big victory is writing one sentence. Sometimes it's a student kicking a door instead of hitting a child. Sometimes it's a student walking out of a classroom to take a break rather than getting frustrated in the classroom. So, I mean, those victories all look different, but it is small victories have to be something that trump the negativeness throughout the day, if that makes sense.
Yes. What do you say to people? And this is a comment that I tend to hear sometimes, especially for those who may not be in the classroom. What do you say to people who are like, well, giving kids that kind of leeway is not preparing them for the real world? You know, it's not like better to say you better not kick anything or you'd better calm down immediately, you know, and to not provide that time, you know what I mean, or to measure improvements in those kinds of increments. How do you push back against that?
Okay, so there's a lot of components that go into what you just said.
Yeah.
Okay, so I explain this the same way I explain to paras, to teachers, to kiddos, because kiddos will actually bring it to my attention every single day. Why does that kid get to do that? Why does this kiddo get 10 minutes instead of 15 minutes? Why does this kiddo get to do that? My general phrase I always say is, it's in his plan or it's in her plan. That's not part of your plan. So that's not something they have to worry about. Every kid has a different plan because every kiddo has a different need. And there is just no way that you can ever compare one circumstance of a specific kid to another specific kid. Nobody is ever going to have the same experience and the same results. And so with those kiddos, it's hard because I can see both ends of the spectrum. I understand where teachers are coming from, but I also understand where we have to be able to grow with them.
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is, a lot of the kiddos that we are seeing are kiddos that have trauma. They are maybe coming from broken homes. They are maybe coming from a family where they are not able to always be fully engaged with their kiddos. And so how are they making sure they're entertained? They're putting them on an iPad. And so these students are never learning, you know, what the word no means. They're not learning responsibility. They're not necessarily learning all the skills that maybe we had the opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
So we have to be able to find a way to help them learn that. And a lot of times, as crazy as it sounds, and this is my biggest advice for anybody that is working with a student with behaviors, is if you want to be successful when you're working with a student with behaviors, you 150% have to have a relationship in some way. You need to know what they like. You need to know what they enjoy. You need to know what motivates them. You need to try and figure out the purpose of behaviors that you're seeing. A lot of times, those behaviors that we see are either attention seeking or I just saw recently, and I like the way that they word that a lot better, connection seeking. They're constantly seeking a connection with adults. And that's why you're seeing these behaviors. They're not getting them with positive things that they're doing. So they're going to seek them out in a negative way. It's so crazy. A lot of times I'll have teachers come to us, to the behavioral team, and they'll say, oh, I don't know what to do with this kid. This is happening. He is being oppositional. He's refusing to do his work. He's refusing to do anything I say. He can't get away with that. What are the other kids going to think if we let him get away with it? And they have to do it, right? I mean, everybody hears that, and that's normal. My first thing is, have you ever gone for a walk with them? What do they like to do? What's their favorite game? Do they love Dogman books? Have you ever read Diary of a Wimpy Kid to them? What gets them excited? Do they love building Legos? Does he want to learn how to beatbox? I don't care what it is. You have to find something that you know the kid is excited about, you can get equally excited about, so you have that relationship. I go into classrooms, I get called whenever there's a behavior in the classroom. And these kids, a lot of times I work with, and it sounds like they get to have fun in Miss Chyna's room, or they get to have fun with Miss Chyna. But I can tell you, anytime that I see these kids, if I'm walking in the hallway and I'm not seeing what I should be seeing, and I say, hey, you need to fix that, they fix it like that for me. And that doesn't always happen with somebody that they don't have a relationship with. When they know that you're excited about things they're excited about, when they know that you're invested in the things that they like, they have a different respect for you where they're going to respond in a different way. And I'm not saying it happens overnight, and I'm not saying it's magic, but you will see huge gains the second that you try to find something that you can relate and bond over with these kids. And it's not easy. It's not always easy, you got to really look sometimes, and that's okay.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you this then. What are your 2 suggestions, right? We're just going to say 2 because I don't want to overwhelm you with like 5. I literally want to give you like 5, but let's start with 2, a nice even number. What are your 2 suggestions then for teachers who want to begin building that relationship with kids? And I say it as a person who came out of secondary, right? So 150 kids a day, right? Yeah. You have 45 minutes, depending on the school, or in some schools, 90, depending on how your schedule's set up, or in some schools, 60, it just depends, or 50. And so how can I make the most of that time to build these relationships with students who I know have been identified to me as in need of special services so that my classroom can be a place where they all learn? Because that's the question. I think teachers feel like you have to kind of do some next level superhero stuff, but it sounds like what you're saying is really, really simple. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, what do I do? This is the part
that's easy and difficult at the same time. So right away, all this should take is I'm literally saying 10 minutes. 10 minutes and you have a relationship and you can continue to build on that as you would with any other student. But it's that 10 minutes that you have to find time for. So it depends on what that looks like for you. So I am not saying that every teacher needs to do this and that this is the right thing to do. But I devote a lot of my prep time working with kiddos to build that relationship. So I don't know if it means taking 10 minutes out of your prep time, just one time out of the entire year to work on that relationship, saying, hey, Timmy, I heard or I saw in your writing today that you love going to this movie. Would you ever just come hang out with me for like 10 minutes and tell me about that? Because I don't think I've ever done that. Whatever it is, find something that you think you can pull from them that you know that they enjoy and take 10 minutes to invest in what they really care about. That's what I would do for an older kiddo.
Okay.
For my kiddo, it's like, hey, I heard you really like Minecraft. Will you just teach me what some of the words are in Minecraft? Because I don't know what that is. And I know you're super great at that.
I think that would work great for lower elementary. Yeah. Any
way that you can take 10 minutes. Because once you have a relationship that's built, it's there. You don't break that. If you continue to say, hey, I love that shirt you're wearing, or hey, did you see that new movie? I know that you liked it. You are continually building off of the relationship that you already have a foundation from. It's hard to initially find that time to build that relationship, but once you start, you just build and build and build, and you just see the success grow. But you have to find time in your day to do that.
Okay, so that's one. So first is, I heard you say, this is me paraphrasing, honey. Look, so tell me if I need to reword it. But I heard you say, find what the child is interested in and you get interested in it too. So as a way to connect with them. So like building that first block is just finding whatever they're interested in. And for those of you who do like high school, I used to have kids make me a music playlist. So every single year I would have them put like their top 2 or 3 songs and we had like this massive class playlist. And then I would work like lyrics from their favorite artists into what we were doing, right? Clean versions, friend. Mm-hmm. But I did that way. And then I hear you saying, Chyna, like, if they're doing elementary, it could be Minecraft or it could be Fortnite or it could be whatever they're into.
You want to be an artist? You're great at drawing. Let me see what you can do. Will you come draw on my whiteboard for me so I can have a picture in my classroom? And I want to say, too, it doesn't have to be during prep time. It can be if you are in an English class or a math class, maybe it's one day you're working on some sort of reading and it's like, hey, let's just hang out for 5 minutes. Will you come sit with me? Will you tell me about this? What did you have for supper last night? It can be anything. Just taking the time to invest in the kiddo is really, really powerful for them.
Okay, so what is your second tip? So the first is to find what they like and then you like it too. What is tip number 2? So we've gotten there. Mm-hmm. The kid is like, oh my God, Miss Turner, I love that you are so interested in whatever it is the kid has told me they're interested in. So I have that level conquered. Now what's one more thing I could do?
Okay, I just want to kind of piggyback off of that too. Even if you don't like something that they're telling you that they like, learn about it.
Yeah.
You know? Where do I go? Where do I go to learn about this? Why should I learn about it? You think it's pretty cool. It must be pretty cool. My second biggest tip, and this is something that I'm really passionate about is that I know when there's a ton of students that you're seeing throughout the day, the students that are sometimes the toughest are the ones that 150% need the most love. They need the most respect. They also are the kiddos that very, very much so need to have a fresh start every single day. And that's okay. But they 100% need that. And so I think one huge thing is that you always have to look for where your students are coming from. Are they getting a meal the night before? Are their parents split up? Is their mom seeing a boyfriend that they don't like? Is mom and dad working a second job all the time? And so they're not home very often. And are you sitting and playing Fortnite until 1:00 in the morning so you're tired at school? I mean, it doesn't have to be a severely broken home. It doesn't have to be abuse. It doesn't have to be neglect. There are a lot of things that happen in our homes now that are affecting these kids that still help these kids need empathy in the school and from their teachers. And so the best way to support kiddos like this is know their background and then have empathy for the behaviors that you're seeing. So I don't know if it means letting them go take a water break to just get away from their frustrations. I don't know if you can set up a calm down corner in your room where it's like, why don't you go take a 5-minute break, set your sand timer. When you're ready to come back and work with us, go ahead and do that. I do errand letters. And so I'll just read this. It says, hello, if you are receiving this note, then you are helping a student de-escalate, get a wiggle break, or transition into work. If you wouldn't mind, please thank them, give them a high five or knucks, and send them on their way with some words of encouragement. Thanks for being proactive in helping out this student. You rock. So I literally just have these printed out. They're on my Teachers Pay Teachers store. The link is in my bio, but I literally print these out. I just fold them over and I write a name on them. So I might write it to the office ladies, to our principal, to the janitor, whoever. I write it out. And then I just say, hey, could you ever run an errand for me? They feel like they're helping you. You're giving them a leadership role. And then they're also getting the break that they might not be identifying that they need, but you're still giving them that time to de-escalate.
I love that. So I heard 3 points. I told y'all we really wanted to do like 5. We're going to stop at 3. So I heard number 1 was find what they like, and then we need to like it or learn about it too, right? As a foundation for kind of getting into their world. And that's across ages, right? So from kindergarten all the way through 12. And then look, some of us know even past 12th grade. Okay. So when we're dealing with students of any type. Okay. And then second, I heard you say that we need to know their backgrounds and have empathy. And that's so important. Like as we start to connect with students around topics of interest to them, not what we told them they need to be interested in, but topics of interest to them, then we need to take the opportunity to learn about their backgrounds and have empathy, right? So kind of put ourselves in their shoes. And then number 3, for those of you who are counting, because it's 3 and not 2, but that's okay because great things come in 3s. Number 3 is be willing to give your student a fresh start every single day. Sometimes as teachers, we get so frustrated because you're like, look, I'm trying to teach. I cannot tell you how many teachers, especially newer ones, I've coached off of this ledge. Like, I'm trying to teach. When this kid comes, nothing gets done. Class gets all stirred up when these 2 students happen to be there. And I hear you saying, you know what? Give those kids a fresh start every day, no matter what. And I love that because as adults, we need that too. Sometimes we have bad days too and completely melt down and say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. And we need a new start.
So hard is that a lot of times when kids are having these behaviors, they're refusing to do work. As a teacher, it's really, really hard not to feel like a failure. It's really hard not to think like, hey, why can't I ever reach this kid? Why can I not help this kid how I want to help? And the thing that like helps me the most is you just have to realize at the end of the day, when you are investing what they care about, you're having empathy for their situation, and you're providing the calm down supports and the academic supports and the de-escalation strategies that they need, there are some days where you are not going to be able to change the behaviors that day. And that doesn't mean that you're failing as a teacher. That just means that these kiddos sometimes are not going to change overnight. And there's going to be really tough days where they're not going to respond how you would hope that they would respond. But that 100% does not mean that you are not doing what's right for kids and that you're not doing the right thing as a teacher.
You should just repeat that part again, because that is what I think teachers need to put into their pockets and carry with them. I'm not failing because this child is having a tough day. That doesn't mean I'm a failure. It doesn't mean I'm in the wrong profession. It doesn't mean I need to give up and pack it in.
Yep, 100%. I mean, I can tell you firsthand, there are many days I get flipped off. I've been sworn at. I get chairs flung at me. Students hate me. But at the end of the day, I know that they know I care about them. I know that in their hearts, they love and care about me. And I know that we are doing whatever we can to support these kids. And it's just a tough day. It doesn't mean that you're not making progress with these kids.
Chyna, thank you so much. You guys, if you have loved this time that Chyna and I have spent talking together, you need to check out her Instagram account. She got a Twitter account. She has a Weebly website. Let me run it down for you. You need to follow at Especially SPED on Instagram. There's that. If you are on Twitter, because we know lots of teachers love teacher Twitter, you can follow Chyna at especially_SPED on Twitter. And if you love the resources that she shared, particularly that note that just gives kids a break without them feeling like they're being excluded, then you need to check out her Teachers Pay Teacher store. She has that too. And you can find a lot of the things that she offers at especiallysped.weebly, WEEBLY.com. Like, I always say nothing but good things happen when teachers link up. When we share what we know with one another, then we all get better collectively. I would never have thought to give a kid a note that says to another adult that's like, you are helping a child de-escalate. Can you give them a handshake, a high five, and send them on? That is such a good idea. And she has so many more like that. You guys need to check it out. Because if you are struggling, like so many of us do, with making our classrooms an inclusive place for all kids, the first thing you need to do is get to somebody who has resources, okay? And Chyna has those for you on her website. So follow her on Instagram, on Twitter. Check out her Teachers Pay Teacher store. She has lots of great things. And I always love when a teacher is passionate about the work that they do. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's your end goal for students in your class before we close? Like, what are you hoping for all of them?
So for all of my kids, like long term, I hope that they can see how creative they are or find something that they are really, really talented at and that they will go after that. I mean, like, I don't care if they have a hard time de-escalating, if they have a hard time regulating their emotions. If they are a fantastic artist, my goal is that they know that with all their heart and that they know that they can go after those things that they really, really are talented at.
I love that. So to view themselves in an asset-based way and not think I am somehow this problematic person.
Math, so now I can't do anything. I ever want a kid to think that. It doesn't matter what you're good at, what you're not good at. It matters like what you are passionate about and what you really care about and what you really enjoy. And so, I mean, I have kids that love beatboxing. I have the second grader, he comes in and he beatboxes to songs that he's doing. My thing is, I said, do you ever think about being a drummer someday? You should beatbox. You are so good at that. You have so much rhythm. Every adult that's coming in here, you better believe I'm like, will you beatbox for Miss Johnson? Will you beatbox for Miss Roberts?
I love that.
Whenever they come in, I'm like, make this kid feel like he is on top of the world because they really can be.
Chyna, again, thank you so much for the perspective that you have lent. I know that making our classrooms inclusive can be intimidating for a lot of teachers, but it makes it so much easier when we run into teachers like you who are like, no, this is okay. You need to just get to know your kids and let them try it again each day. And both of you will get there. They'll give you grace and you give them some.
Yep.
We really appreciate it. Well, thank you for taking time to talk to us. You guys go ahead and follow her. I'll put all of her social media handles and website in the show notes. That is all I have for today, fire starters. Go forth, be great, and stay lit. That's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to The Core. Wherever you are listening to us, be sure to like our show, subscribe, and share the episode that's meant the most to you. We appreciate every single one of our subscribers, as do our sponsors. We look forward to seeing you next week. You can also check us out on YouTube at Red Apple Edco. If you'd like to see more video of these conversations, we have them posted there.